So we're just coming, every year in Valentine's weekend, we tend to focus on love. And I was thinking, well, I woke up Thursday with the sniffles, and I thought, oh no. I'm not doing this again because I just did this dance just a few weeks ago. And I'm not doing it. I'm getting ready to go to Florida. I'm going to be in a conference, and I'm going to be at Disney World, crying out loud. I am not doing the sniffles. So I started to find myself getting really irritated, right? That doesn't help. It doesn't help when things are happening in my experience that are other than what I really want to be experiencing in the moment, and then turn it into some kind of judgment and make it all wrong. So what I did was I took the opportunity to go, okay, how can I love myself through this? You see, because love is the absolute essence that can transform anything. I have seen it transform relationships, heal through some difficult challenges. Love is what lifts us up in the seeming appearance of loss, which is just change, which is just transition. Love can transform anger like that. It is almost impossible to be angry or irritated when you are experiencing love. So what I wanted to talk about today really ultimately always comes back to, really, I think this is my lesson in life, conscious loving. And what I have learned about this idea of love was that, you see, I thought love was more an experience, right? I thought love was something that I experienced with connection with other people, that I experienced as a result of giving and being compassionate and loving myself. I saw love as an emotion of sorts, a way of feeling. And certainly it is an essence of feeling, but what it is, in essence, is the essence of who we are. Emerson says that love is a synonym for God. Love is a synonym for God. And we've heard that over and over again, that God is love. And I was thinking a lot about, I like to do sentence completion. It really helps my mind wander into wonderful new areas. So I was like, love is. And what kept coming up for me was never having to say I'm sorry. And what is that from? Is that from like a movie in the 70s, right? Yeah, love story, okay. So what does that mean to me? Love is never having to say I'm sorry. And that is this new relationship that I have with myself, right? Because I'm continuing to grow and become more present to myself and more aware of who I am every day. I don't have to apologize for who I am. What is mine to do, however, is to allow myself to be who I am. To not be living my life in terms of what I think other people are expecting of me. And that's any relationship. That's my partner, that is my family, that is my coworkers, that is this community. It is not up to me to try to make up in my mind what I think that you all want me to be like. It's so draining. It's exhausting. And I'll tell you another thing that I've learned about living my life authentically is that half of what I think's going on out there, or what I think's going on with you, or what I think that you expect of me, is all made up. It's made up. I made it up. I made it up, and I make things up based on my past experiences. So what I know is this, that the very essence of who I am is love. And as Celeste so eloquently said in her reflection today, what is it in me? How does love, if you will, or peace, how does love want to emerge as me? Because it's not something that I just experience. Love, as the essence of divinity, is always present. So what is going to bring me to a greater awareness of the experience of love? And yes, sometimes that is through my giving, sometimes that is through my relationships. It's always reflected in every connection I have. But what I have come to realize, that my connections with other people, my relationship with any one of you, is dependent on my relationship with myself. And I can tell you that I learned at a very early age to disengage. I learned at a very early age to disconnect from myself, because it was more important to me, it felt safer to me, it felt like it helped build me up if I acted in a way that I thought you wanted me to act. So I learned the art of people-pleasing at a very early age. And I've spent most of my adult life unlearning that. Unlearning that. And there is a book called Unapologetically You by Steve Maraboli, I think it is. Maraboli? Yeah, Steve Maraboli. And I love that because I'm all about authenticity, but what I realized was I really have to learn more about myself in order for me to be authentic. And therefore, the more authentic I am in relationship to myself, the more I recognize my own divinity, the more I recognize the power and the presence of love as my life, as who I am, then that gets reflected in my relationships. I stopped, and this was all trial and error. My life has all been, it's not trial and error, it's trial and perfection. It's not even trial, right? Because what I'm doing is I'm learning and evolving, and my commitment is to myself to expand in an awareness of who I am and move confidently in every moment, trusting life. And what I've realized is the more I trust myself, the more honest I am with myself, the more I claim myself as important and valuable and loving, and the more I appreciate myself, the more I appreciate life. The more I place value on others, the more I place value on what I do in the world, the more valuable life is. Anything that's going on outside of there is a direct reflection of here. So it was really important, it's been really important for me, it continues to be very important to me, to be myself. My license plate says simply be. And I got that idea of the license plate back in '95 when I moved down here from Connecticut. And I thought, you know, if we could just all have the courage to just simply be who we are, life would be so easy. I didn't realize that I had to start with me. I thought it was a great idea for you guys. I thought that's a great place to start. Just simply be yourself. That's what I'm going to honor and respect. Meanwhile, I'm hiding. Meanwhile, I'm holding myself back. Meanwhile, I'm being afraid. Meanwhile, I'm having all my inner struggle and I'm not daring to share with anybody because then you would see me as less than. Well, I already saw myself as less than. When I switch that, when I recognize really who I am, I can say I can recognize the divine in you. Do I recognize it in myself? When I stop and give myself that opportunity to go, you know what? I am God in action. I am God shown up on earth. I am spirit expressing as Christy. I'm not Christy as God. I am God as Christy. And that subtle switch, that little subtle change in how I worded that, made all the difference in my life. God as Christy. God seeking to express life, love, connection, prosperity, abundance, health. And in ever evolving and expanding way. It brings me to life from the inside out, not what does life have to give me? What do you have to give me in relationship? How are you going to define me? I realize there comes a point, right, when we realize that we get to choose. I mean, we talk about that in this teaching, that the power is in how we see ourselves and what we think about life, in remembering who we are as the divine presence, and that's what we give forward. And I wanted to share with you, one of my favorite quotes from Ernest Holmes is, "Love is a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible." And I love that because it allows me to open up and feel this sweeping energy. Isn't it something that I get from you? It's not even something I get from me, it just is. But when I open to the awareness of it, I experience it more and more and more. And there's different ways of experiencing love, yes? There's different connections. You can be in relationship, not in relationship, and still experience love. You can see it in a newborn baby. You can see it in little puppies and kittens. You can see it in older dogs and cats, too. And you see it in one another. You certainly see it in spiritual community, right? We come in here, we recognize something, we feel something. As soon as we walk in the door, we're feeling it. That's love. And what's happening is we're not getting love. We are opening up to a fuller experience of love. So the invitation this day is to ask yourself, how can I open up and trust and experience love And that goes for expressing love more fully. Unconditional love, I always got it, right? I always thought I got it. Oh, unconditional love, yeah, that's a love without condition. I didn't include in that means no judgment, that means no gossip, that means no being afraid, that means this thought that I had to protect myself. All the stuff that I had wrapped up with being open and vulnerable, I associated with love. And I can tell you, truth needs no defending, truth needs no protecting. Truth is truth, and love is truth. Love is one of those principles, one of those aspects of the divine that is unchanging. It is solid, it is fluid, but it is solid. It is consistent, it is always there. And when I awaken to it, when I allow myself the experience of it, everything in my life is different. My body is different, my habits are different, my sleeping and rest is different, my relationships, my personal relationships, my work relationships, creativity and ideas, all of that is different because I'm open. And what I realized was I spent a good chunk of my life being a little closed off, a little holding myself back. And that is just a pattern, and patterns can change. Patterns can change if you give yourself the opportunity. And what I realized I had to do to make the most significant change, and I do this sometimes piecemeal, is to let go of the judgment. And I think the biggest judgment I ever had was on myself. I had this lie swirling around in my consciousness that said I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. And I carried that not good enough into a lot of areas of my life, and what started showing up in my life was not enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough energy, not enough love. Well, this idea of not enough kept me closed off from really being aware and open to the fuller experience of the divine. See, life is just wanting to pour into me because I am life. So life will support life. That's the essence of life. And when I move into this idea of love, I'm keeping that flow going. I'm keeping that awareness open. I'm keeping the channel of life energy moving in my life. And it comes through different people. For me, it's come through many relationships, many changes, many transformations. There's different layers. And I've loved every bit of the journey. Through the tears, through the anger, through the judgment, I have learned something about myself, that love is a constant. And if there's one thing that I know about myself, I know how to love. It's because it's who I am. You know how to love because it's who you are. So what was I so afraid of? I wasn't afraid of anything. I just had this stinking belief that I wasn't good enough. It got in my way. When I let go of that, everything opened up. Things changed, relationships changed, work changed, my job changed. I went to school, which I never thought I wanted to do. And my whole life just opened up. My life continues to open up in such a way that I am experiencing joy and beauty and love in a way that I never ever thought possible. How? Because I opened up and I started to trust life as me. I started to trust God as Christy. I started to trust God as love through me. I came across this reading. It's a Reverend Rita. She says, so whatever is occurring in your life, whether you are in a loving relationship, ending a relationship, alone, or have so many loving relationships you are filled to the brim, remember this: love is not something we have to pursue, hold on to, or create. We just have to accept who we are. Love is pouring through us all the time. Love is all that there is. Everything else is a lie we've either been told or told ourselves. When we let go of judgment and we stand with just a little more faith, a little more trusting, a little more gentleness with ourselves, you'll see that your relationships and your relationship to life, everything is a relationship, how I relate to, begins to change. To experience more love in my life, I have learned to love myself more. Again, it's through our connection with others, There's, codependent habits I learned early on. And there's a wonderful book I'm reading. It's actually entitled Conscious Loving. It's by Gay Hendricks and his wife Kathleen Hendricks. And it's been an amazing tool for me because it made me realize that I have moved, in my journey, I have moved from this idea of codependency, which is where, in order to make me feel good about myself, I need you. And I don't. What I've learned is that I have the opportunity, as each of us does, to move into a co-creative relationship. This is what we're doing in community. This is why we come together. This is what the draw is here. This is what happens when we come in and we feel more and we are lifted up and we recognize the divine in one another. That's what's going on. It's the awakening and the expression of love in a more expanded way. And that is creativity. That is the co-creative process. And I started thinking about engagement. I'm like, what is it? There's always a little part of me in life that felt a little disconnected. I really try. And who is it? Yoda? Yeah? Try or... Yeah, do or not do. There is no try. Exactly. Thank you. And that's it. When I stop, the invitation is just stop and be present. That is what has completely changed my life, is to be present. I just show up. I was very busy, very active, but I wasn't present. We can get lost in the busyness of our lives and think that we're just fine in all the doing, but when we stop and really show up and are present to ourselves, paying attention to what's important to us, paying attention to what we're feeling, paying attention to every relationship. That point of disconnect was not only a disconnection within myself, but I wasn't allowing myself to be completely present. So I started to engage more and show up more. And it all started with showing up for myself, taking care of myself, and really being authentic and genuine in how I cared for myself. So that's an invitation to you. It all starts from the point of us. And in my relationships, I started showing up. I realized that I would listen to somebody speak and I was thinking about 3 other things at the same time. Did you ever do that? To catch myself and go, oh, let me just focus. Let me just focus. What I started to experience was a deeper connection. And what that deeper connection is just a greater awareness. Just a greater awareness of love. There's nothing more than that. The magical energy of love is really that connection with the divine. That's what's so powerful about love. And there are so many ways to share that and experience that. And I want to be present to all of it. I want to be present. I want to be present with my relationships. I want to be present to my work. I want to be present with my community. I want to be present to life. I want to be present especially to myself. Greatest way I can remember to do that is to remember that I am God expressing as Christy, not Christy as God. God is Christy. I'm here to live life more fully, as are each of you. And so there was this little aspect that tended to get in my way, and that is about, I love the word, I'm going to jump around a bit. I love the word intimacy, and I learned in the early 80s while I was attending a loving relationships gathering that said, intimacy is into me see. And I thought, ooh, then I gotta let somebody see really into me. Well, of course, my big lie that I was carrying around didn't like that too much, right? Set that aside. When I can't let you see into me if I don't even know me. I have to have the courage to be myself. I have to have the courage to be who I came here to be. I have to have the courage to just stand still long enough to just be present with myself. It's that simple. I thought, really? It's got to be a little more complicated than this. Relationships have to be a little more complicated. No, they don't. They don't. I have found that the key to wonderful, happy, thriving relationships is to show up and be present. And to be in love. To do that, to open up to that experience of love more fully. And so my little issue with that is my lifetime habit of wanting to protect myself. Realizing there's nothing to protect. I'm God. what got in my way was this idea of not trusting myself, not trusting life. I always thought that trust was, well, of course I'm trustworthy. I had to learn, really, to be trustworthy, right? Because then I had to learn to be good enough. But I'm amazing, just so you know. I'm to the point where that is so far a lie that I can stand here and say I'm amazing. And that's okay. And you get to say that too about yourself, because really you are. Because you're a God shown up on earth to be loved, to be light, to be health, to be wholeness. And to get out of your own way and allow that to happen, that's the gift. And that's the point of connection. And that's the point where you realize you can trust. You can trust yourself, you can trust life, because life is you. You can trust love, because love is you. And I read an interesting thing from the author Brené Brown on this idea of vulnerability, and really she worded it in a way that was really about just being present. And I thought, really, it's that simple. And then she shared a story about her daughter who came home from school that was really upset because she shared something with someone at recess that she trusted, and then before you knew it, before recess was over, all these kids knew it, and she was really embarrassed and hurt by that, and she thought, I'm never telling anybody anything again, and I'm not trusting anybody. And she had a conversation with her mother, Brené Brown, right? Or was it her? Yeah, okay. So, and she wondered how she could talk about building trust with her daughter. And so she used this metaphor of a marble jar. And she said it's like you have a relationship and you have these marbles in a jar. And the jar represents a relationship. And every time somebody is really supportive and loving and kind and present to you, for you, put some marbles in the jar. And anytime you have an experience with that person that is anything unlike that, take some marbles out. And you will see before long the ones that have more marbles. And those are the ones that you have a deeper sense of trust with. And there's different levels of trust, right? With different relationships. We have different levels of trust with different people. And I thought, God, that's brilliant. It's so simple. And I thought, first of all, I ought to get my own jar for me. I have yet to do this. I'm going to do this. So I have yet to do this. I want to get a jar. I want to get, I don't know, some really funky colored marbles. And listen to my self-talk. Listen to how I encourage myself. Listen to how many times I say, you know what, you're pretty amazing. You're pretty amazing to have the life that you have, to have the childhood that you have, to have all the situations that you have just woven yourself through and the experience and journey of this life so far. You're amazing, because I never gave up. And then if I have a little mind chatter that says, yeah, you're not so much. You're no different than anybody else. Who thinks you're so special that you get to be up on this stage talking? Who do you think you are? I'm going to take some marbles out. And I want to watch that self-talk. I want to see how many times am I praising myself? How many times am I really tapping and saying, you know, my body really wants to rest? Put some marbles in the jar. How present am I to myself? Put some marbles in the jar. How present am I to my relationships? Put some marbles in the jar. And if I'm not so present, well, take some marbles out. And watch that relationship and that trust for myself build. And then I just had this picture of all these different size jars, because, you know, there's different levels of relationship, right? And start doing that. What I realized was what got in my way was I had one jar. I had one jar, and every experience from every person, every aspect of my life, all the marbles went in. And when something happened that I didn't so much like, I just threw all the marbles out. One jar. Well, that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. It's a lot of pressure to put on you or you or you to think that you have to really support a lifetime full of my marbles. Everybody's got their own marble. I was putting them all together and neglecting myself in the process. And I made it about them instead of me. You see, so get your own jar, get your own marbles, start listening to your self-talk. Open up to that awareness of love within yourself, because it is something that is never, ever, ever going away. It's never changing. We just get to open up to it. Affirm that you're safe. Affirm that you are the divine in action. Affirm that love is all that there is. Be present. Be conscious. Pay attention. I didn't realize that I was just not showing up to a lot of my life. And then I was late to a lot of my life. Now I'm on time, and I'm showing up. And it is what it is. It's one of my favorite affirmations. Whatever seems to be going on, it's my opportunity. As Gay and Kathleen Hendricks say, it's a matter of when you meet what you have learned or what you're seeing with an aha or an uh-oh. And for me, I like to greet it with a huh. To get out of the judgment. Just be who you are. Let go of all the lies you've ever told yourself. Let go of any of the expectations you think other people are going to fill in your life. Because this idea of somebody else filling that space that feels empty in you is just an illusion. It's not true. You are full, you are whole, you are complete, you are health, you are love, you are peace, you are prosperity. And so it's time for each of us, I think, to open up to that. Doesn't that sound like fun? Finally, just let go of all the other stuff and open up to the fuller experience of life? Yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. And I believe that that's what all of us are showing up and doing on our own personal journey. Love is. Love is love. Love is love is love. It's eternal. It's ever present. We get to awaken to it. We get to be it. We get to share it. We get to awaken that and inspire that in other people. That's connection. And that connection happens at the point of our own self-awareness. That connection happens at the point of that awareness of who we are as the divine, and everything's fine. You ever notice that? You move into love? Talk about your core emotions, right? I had somebody say to me one time, you're angry. You're angry a lot. And I'm like, I'm not angry right now. I'm just frustrated. I thought it was different. But when I realized that, I was acting angry. And when I realized that, when I learned how to differentiate just some of those core emotions, I knew that wisdom would take me out of frustration immediately. And what I know about love is that it would take me out of anger instantly. Where there is love, there can be no opposite, if you will. Focus on the love. It's that simple. And don't complicate it. You don't have to complicate it, you can if you want. But it's that simple. Be love. Be who you came here to be. Give yourself permission to be loved. Give yourself permission to open up and receive love. Give yourself permission to recognize that each relationship, each activity is just a reflection of who you are. And so the more love you pour into that, the more love you're going to see reflecting back. And let it be okay. Let it be okay. Love is who you are. Love is who you came here to be. I wanted to share with you this quote. I know you've heard it recently too, but it really sums up the words of Ernest Holmes. Nothing is real to us unless we make it real. Nothing can touch us unless we let it touch us. Refuse to have the feelings hurt. Refuse to receive anyone's condemnation in the independence of your own mentality. Believe and feel that you are wonderful. This is not conceit, it is the truth. What can be more wonderful than the manifestation of the infinite mind? That is who you are. The infinite mind, infinite love, eternal divine presence, uniquely expressing in a way that only you can as God. I honor each and every one of you, and I invite you to just show up and be present and be gentle with yourselves and stand every moment as much as you can in the essence of love and let that sweep through your world. It's transformative, it's empowering, and it frees us all. So it is. Thank you.